Greetings everyone, Coretta here, coming to you once again with a little look, this time behind the scenes of my little duck animation that I posted to Facebook. A lot of people seem to like it a lot. I thought it was just a silly little exercise that I was doing, but a lot of people liked it. A lot of people messaged me and left nice comments, and I was really glad that, what I did managed to help a lot of people out. So someone made the suggestion that I should make a tutorial about this, so I will do that. Now, I don't really want to have this so much be a tutorial as it is more of a thought process. So this is the animation. This is the final animation that I've done. So it's pretty much just this duck bobbing around on the water, and it's pretty simple, but there's a lot of stuff going on. And really, if you have, your principles of animation kind of in your head while you're working on something like this, it makes things a lot easier. Now, for this, I'm kind of going to go in and maybe hide some more of these layers. My thought process is pretty much what I want to share for this. And the thought process here really is what would be the first thing that I would create in this animation. So let's go back to the final thing again. It's a duck bobbing along on the water, but what is like the main quote unquote what I think is the foundation of the animation? And for me, it was the water. Everything else that's happening here is happening as a reaction to the motion of the water. The water is the one constant in this animation. So it's going to be doing its thing, and the duck isn't really affecting the water is affecting the duck. So once I have the water down, then everything else should follow. And that's kind of what I did here. In this rough section here, this is all that it is. It's just this water animation, right? And I guess people want to know, how did I get the water animation? Now, for the wave animation, there's a few ways to do this. There is a sort of simple way to do it, and then there's the more advanced way to do it once you kind of understand what you're doing, right? So first things first, I'm going to make a background layer. I'm just hitting shift and just drawing these lines. So for this formula, you're going to want to remember this: 1, 5, 3, 7. And that's frame 1, frame 5, frame 3, and frame 7, right? This is the same sort of technique that they use to create the waving kite tail or the flag animation, which is pretty much a loop. And this is pretty much how it's created. So this is obviously frame 1, right? This is frame 1, right? And in frame 1, this is going to be my wave, right? The next frame that I want to create, I can go here to this master panel and add another frame, and I'm going to want to use my onion skin. This second frame here is going to be frame 5, right? And this will make sense once I have the whole thing finished. In frame 5, right, it's going to be the mirror image of frame 1. So what you're going to do is you're pretty much going to draw the reverse of this, which is something like that. It's not perfect, but I'm just trying to show you, what's the best way to do it. I just kind of want to clean this up maybe. Okay, so that's 5, right? Now we're going to want to go back to frame 1, and we're going to add another empty frame. This is going to be frame 3. Right? Now in frame 3, we're going to go in between this lump here. Well, let me just draw this on the background layer. We're going to go between this hump here and this hump here. The green line is the first frame, and the sort of pinky line is going to be the next frame. So this is the frame before and the frame after. So we want the frame in between, and the waves are going to be moving that way, right? So the frame in between, obviously that means if you're going from here to here, you want in between this. So what you're going to do is draw the hump of this wave in between. Now we're dealing with one wave here, so you're probably looking at something kind of like this, right? Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So that's the in between, and this is frame 3. Oh, I made a mistake. Mistakes were made. The great thing is that you have undo. What I need to do is actually draw this on my actual animation layer and not on the background, right? That is the important thing. So again, we're trying to put that into here, which is the middle. So we're trying to get in between these two humps here. So it's going this way, this. That's what's happening, right? And I don't think this needs to be like that. Yeah, so it's about that, right? So this is 1, 3, 5. And like I said, it's going to make sense in a bit. After 5, you're going to add another frame, and this is going to be frame 7, right? Now, 7 is going to be the reverse of frame 3. So frame 3, and I'm going to go back to the background layer, frame 3 has its hump here, which means in frame 7, the hump is going to be down here, right? So let me see if I can kind of do that. So you can kind of see where frame 3 is. Frame 3 is here, and you see the sort of faint image of it right there. So we're going to try and do the opposite of that. So, oh, I'm going beyond the lines right here. So, and again, I'm drawing in the background layer, which is a no-no. So let me go back to doing this. So we're going to want to do this thing here, right? Now, let's take off this and let's see what's going to happen. Oh, it's going really, really fast. So let's try and slow this down to like, I don't know, 12 frames. Yeah, you see, now stuff is happening. So we can go ahead and start adding more frames in between this and to sort of smooth the motion out. So this is 1, this is 3, this is 5, this is 7. So we're going to add another frame, and this is going to become frame 2, right? We're going to go put back on our light table. So we're going to go from this to this to this. So we're going to go from this hump up here to this hump here, which means the hump that we're drawing now needs to be in the middle here somewhere, right? So you're going to get this moving along. So you have 1, 2, 3. There's no 4. So where's 4? Obviously, we have to add in another frame. So we're going to add another frame in. This is going to become frame 4. So we have 1, 2, which I decided to draw here for whatever reason. 3, 4. This is going to be 5. So 4, we need 4 to happen. So 3 is here, and this is 5. So what happens again? We're going to identify the two humps. This is the top hump here. This is the next hump. So the hump that we're drawing for the frame 4 here has to come in between this somehow, right? So we're going to do this, right? Again, it doesn't need to be exactly perfect, but you know, you want to try and get it as good as possible. Right, something like that, right? So we're trying to get in between those two keyframes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 7. We're 6. Of course, we have to add 6 in. So we're going to add in another blank frame. This is going to be 6. This is frame 5, and then this is frame 6. Now, the hump is kind of disappearing off the side here, so we have the dip right here, and we can look between this dip and the next dip and kind of surmise that at frame 6, the dip is going to now be here. So we're now drawing kind of in between these other frames, right? So now let's get rid of this and let's play the animation and see what happens. Boom! Now you've got this kind of wavy motion. Now it's going really, really fast, but let's slow it down again to 12 frames per second and see what happens. There you go. You have a wave. Now we're not finished with this just yet. I'm going to put this back to 24. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Between 7 and 1, we don't really have an in-between. So copy here and then paste here. So this is back to 1. So between 7 and 1, we need another frame, which would be frame 8. So we're going to add another frame. Again, we want to put back on our onion skin. So we're going to go 7 and back to 1. 7 and back to 1. 7, 7, back to 1. Now, it's not so obvious with here because of how badly I've drawn it, but you can see it more between these two humps right here. So here's 1, and here's the other one. So you want to draw frame 8. This would be frame 8. You want to draw frame 8 in between this. So you're going to kind of draw in between this. And that is kind of it. Now, let me show you what happens when you connect. This is really what I should have done from the very beginning, is that this first frame should have been duplicated, because what this becomes here, this last frame here, which is the copy of frame 1, is what's called the hookup. And the reason that is there is so that you can get that in-between frame after 7 and then coming back around to 1. This frame, however, gets taken away, right? So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it goes back around to the first. So now I'm going to go back to 12. So now it hooks back up a little bit better, right? Now from here, you can animate this on 2s, right? So we're going to add another frame here, go to 2s, 2s, 2, 2, 2, 2s, 2s. And let's animate this at 24 frames a second now, which is the correct frame rate. And you see you get the same nice sort of sinusoidal motion. Now, this doesn't mean this is where it's finished. To make this even smoother, you can break down all of those frames as well. So we can go right back to having the animations back on 1, and we can completely ignore the numbering that I've put down here, and we can put down frames between each of these frames. Now, I didn't use that technique to do the waves in my animation. I just animated them forward, which isn't necessarily the easier way to do it. It's a bit more of an advanced technique, but that doesn't mean it's easier. It was kind of it was difficult for me to do, but I did it eventually. You know, I really should have used that technique. It would have made my life a hell of a lot easier. But once I got that main wave down, I was able to add 2 more waves to the background, and that is the foundation for my animation. Everything else that happens in this animation will be reacting to these waves. So I have the waves complete. I have the driving foundation for my animation done. What's the next step? Now, I could put in the body, which would maybe be the next more logical thing, but I didn't want to put the body in. I decided the best thing to do was to put in the head next. But why the head? The head is the only other thing that sort of is stationary. It's not being affected by anything. The head just kind of does its own thing. So the waves are doing its own thing, the head is doing its own thing, and then the body for this bird is reacting to everything that's happening in that space between the head and the waves. So the body is basically just following those waves along and then stretching and squashing up to where the head is. That was pretty much the the bulk of my animation, and then I just added in the chick. And with the chick, I first of all drew this red circle to kind of give me an idea of, how the chick would move. I liked the idea that the chick was being left behind by the wave and then like had this moment of like hang time before it made back contact with the water again. So then I actually put the chick in as a rough. There you go. And once I got that rough going, I put in some splashes. And then I went in to start doing ink and paint. Now, you see the beak looks bent here. Again, it's a continuation of this smear back here. So then I just did the ink and paint on top of all of that. And there are different versions of this. So, this is it with the color done in. And then I went to another version where all of the colors are done in for the foreground wave. And here's what I did as well. The waves in the background, I decided they should be on another layer behind the main wave and behind the duck. So that also made it a little bit easier for me to do, like, coloring in things when you use the paint bucket tool and you just kind of like fill the color very quickly. And then I went to the last version, which was the background waves put in and the background sky painted in as well. And that's basically how I did it. If you look at any animation, think about it in terms of it being broken down. Don't look at it as a whole thing like it's so difficult and I'm never going to be able to do it and it's so complicated, blah blah blah. If you look at it that way, you'll probably never get it done and it's going to start being super overwhelming to you. So the best thing to do is kind of break everything down. Once you have it broken down, that really and truly helps things and everything else can flow from there. Yeah, so I hope that helped a lot, and I'm looking forward to see what you guys do with your animations. I'm looking forward to see how you're going to take, simple things that you see around you every day and put them to work. No matter how simple it is, it's just about getting going. And the other thing I know that people are probably going to say is, oh, well, I don't have TV Paint. You don't need to use TV Paint. You can use any software you can get your hand on that has the capability to do animation. Now, not every software is going to have the nice ability to do the rough pencil, but you can use Photoshop. Photoshop does have a kind of animation capability. It's not the greatest in the world, but it's better than nothing. You can use Toon Boom, you can use Flash, you can do whatever, use whatever you have. It doesn't have to be TV Paint. Just use what you have access to, and if you don't have the ability to build up that rough sort of, pencil sketch thing, use Photoshop, So use what you have at your disposal and go make awesome sauce happen. Until next time, peace out.